The makeup of us. Brace yourself. You're about to enter the mind of Murray. That can be a scary place. You'll understand why I am the way I am after I go through this one. So as I see things, okay, I have a very unique way of viewing the world, like us all. And this is how I see us all made up. Okay? I think it's a veins slide or something. I know someone told me that. Anyway, but we're on a very basic level. Emotional, mental, and physical beings. Now, when we get all three in balance, we're in balance. Okay? And we can subdivide each section into, in the emotional field, we've got expression, connection, and community, and that equals emotional regulation and emotional health. In the physical, we break it up to overload, cardio, mobility, and that comes up to bodily health in the balance section. And then mental, we've got nature, we've got meditation, and we've got community, and that brings in mental health. So when we get all this in balance, we feel good. Our life works out the way it wants to. We release a lot of stuff, and we realize we're holding on to a lot of things we don't actually want, and who we are is actually someone different to who we think, okay, or how we think. Now, let's go deep. We've got then the 7 A's. The 7 A's is a concept I use to go through everything. Activation, so activation is the trigger. Whatever happens, something triggers you, something activates something in you, it's an emotional response. And that will continue happening like a cycle until you become aware of that. So awareness is the next day. You need to become aware of what's happening, of something's triggering you in order to do something about it. Or you need to be aware of something that's happening in your life to do something about it. You're not worried you're putting on weight. You're not, all these things. People say something, you put on weight, you're activated emotionally, things like that, okay? Then from awareness, you've got to go to acknowledgement. You've got to acknowledge it to be real. A lot of time we can become aware of it, but we can just fob it off, okay? There comes a point where you must acknowledge it. From acknowledgement, then comes a hard point called acceptance. I'm talking about deeply emotional things here, not everything, but acceptance. You will fluctuate between these for a prolonged period of time, sometimes years, maybe, lifetimes, struggling to accept, because if you can't accept, then you can't take action. And action is then the allowing, the doing of things. And then the allowing is to accept this all to be true, because this is an emotional and mental process, this, that can bring up feelings of guilt, of shame, etc. You must allow this to be without internalizing it, because that's a block. And then the byproduct of all that is you become more authentic. Okay? So with that understanding, a lot of people spend their life trying to sort this out. Instagram, social media. In today's living society, we are focused and we're obsessed with the physical, how we appear. Are we built? Are we skinny? Are we runners? We want to emulate attractiveness. We want to make people think we look good. We want validation from others. It's just how it's been set up. Don't judge yourself, okay? This is just how I see things. So we spend a lot of time in the physical. And this is why a lot of people never seem to get anywhere in their gym journeys. They end up in the 6-week cycle of 6-week transformations, 6-week programs, 6-week trials, 6-week challenges, 12-week challenges, whatever it is, gym after gym after gym, trainer after trainer. We all know what I'm talking about. It's happening, right? And when we do this and we continually experience failure, we're priming our nervous system to accept and expect that feeling over and over again, which then makes it harder to overcome the barrier. And when physically it doesn't happen, we go to the mental and we try to do meditation and walks in nature, and we try to connect, with the communities, and but what really happens is we berate ourselves, we belittle ourselves, we put ourselves down. The conversations that happens in our minds, the thoughts that we are listening to, are always negative. They're always justifying why we can't get this correct. So this conversation up here strengthens this conversation down here and this experience down here. And most people will stay in these two places. Now, certain people will move to the emotional. They'll realize that no matter what they've been doing, something isn't working out. They're not happy. and they'll start questioning their feelings. And the feelings are the foundation. Should have done this pyramid here. This is emotional, this is mental, and this is physical. The more of emotional base we have, the stronger our mental capacity to think the way we need to think, which then will have a direct result on our physical appearance and our health as a biological being. But as what you want to call a spiritual being, whatever, the emotions, the feelings, the experiences of childhood, don't want to go too deep, but the epigenetics of ancestral traumas that have passed through DNA for over generations that you've picked up that are causing you to act a certain way you're not even conscious of, they must be dealt with or at least acknowledged, and we bring through the 7 A's through this. And each experience is going to allow us to rid ourselves of the emotional traumas that are holding us back. Because ultimately, even though we're adults, we're all children trapped in adult bodies. Because what's unconscious, we will just allow it to control our lives, and we'll call it fate. Okay? As things like 90% of our actions, take an E here, 90% subconscious, 10% conscious. So if 90% of our thoughts, actions, beliefs are subconscious, meaning we're not aware of them, then they're running the background, they're running the program in the background, dictating our outcomes. We've only got 10% of conscious thought and understanding to deal with everything we experience in life. And that usually leads to the ego. Because the ego doesn't want to accept that the subconscious run the background dictates everything. We must make rational sense with the ego mind, the 10% mind. And we do so based on our own biases and what keeps us safe. So when you're in the emotional field, your job is to become aware of the patterns, to acknowledge the pattern, to accept the pattern, take action to change the pattern, allow yourself to express and feel whatever emotion you need to release the pattern, to integrate it into you, so it no longer carries the guilt, the shame, the traumas, the things that are holding you back. And then that allows you, as a byproduct, to step into your authentic self. Does that make sense? I hope so. I'm trying to dumb this down because it's taken me years to understand this, and I'm trying to make it in a 15, 20-minute video. So if everything we're doing, feeling-wise, is dictating how we think-wise, then the thoughts are going to dictate the actions of the physical. Now we're going to things where you may be good, mentally you may be, let's say, really good at nature. You could be walking in mountains, you could be walking in forests, connecting with the land, hugging trees, smelling flowers, grounding yourself, doing all the things that the scientific world thinks woo-woo, but actually it's now been shown to be having some sort of connection. Like, after all, we are energy. Everything's energy. And the more I do it, the better I feel. So, and I know a lot of other people feel the same. Even the heavy scientific guys know that when they go on the mountain, they feel different. The energy of the land's different. But you may be one of these people who's really good at nature, but it's like all nature, and you're isolating yourself from people because you tell yourself a story. I hate people, or people freak me out, I get anxiety, or whatever it is, or I'm depressed. Whatever that subconscious story is that allows you to avoid going there because it's a threat to the subconscious mind. That means you're out of balance. And maybe you're the type of person that goes to community a lot, goes in nature a lot, but doesn't sit with their thoughts. You have to be distracted. You can't sit with yourself. You can't allow yourself to just be still. Again, that means you're out of whack in the mental field. And the best way to get yourself more into balance so the mental health is stronger and you've got to give yourself the best opportunities is to do all these things and do the 7 A's again on, or like maybe you're sitting in the house in your home and there's nothing, TV's not or something, and you'll automatically reach for your phone. You're doing that because you're there's a habit, you want to distract yourself. So That's the activation. You want to distract yourself as the trigger. The awareness, fuck, I picked my phone up. Why did I pick my phone up? Then you go scrolling. But maybe you'll acknowledge, you go, whoa, I didn't, fuck. Acceptance, I did do that. Shit. Action, I'm going to put that phone down. I'm going to allow myself to breathe. I'm going to allow myself to sit in the stillness. And I'm going to allow the emotions that ruminate within my gut to appear. And I'm going to start questions of where am I feeling that? Am I feeling that in my stomach? Am I feeling that in my head? Am I feeling that in my heart? What is that emotion? Is it anger? Is it frustration? Is it sadness? Is it loneliness? Is it guilt? Is it shame? Is it abandonment? Is it, And then, through doing that, you become more authentic. So the 7 A's can happen in a minute. It can happen in a lifetime. There's no limit to this. Now, some of us may be really good physically and mentally. Think of the science-based communities, the PTs out there, some of them are a very good friend of mine, who are really, really physically in great shape, and they've got that driven, but they're most likely, not all, but if they're living in these two fields, they're most likely disconnected to the emotion. Okay? They're probably lacking something here. And there's also people who'll be really emotionally aware, doing all the work or what's comfortable for them, and they're in the mental game, they're meditating, they're doing all the things right, but they're so disconnected from the body. They're like, I don't care how I look, this is just me. They're not honoring themselves enough. And again, the subconscious mind is telling them a story that justifies them doing what they're doing and living how they're living. No judgment on this at all. This is just how it is. And, well, I don't really think there's much about there's not the crossover to physical and emotional is a bit different, I'd say. Because if you're very emotional, you're probably going to be avoiding this. Or the exercise you do will demonstrate that, shall we say. So you may be, in the physical, let's say you may be very cardio-induced and mobility-wise, but you're not really doing progressive overload. You might be like a yoga and a runner head, but you're out of balance because physically you're not strong. Just like you may be a powerlifter who's really strong here, but cardio mobility is lacking. Or you may be someone who is a bodybuilder and your mobility and your cardio is lacking, so you're not in balance, even though physically you look impressive according to the rules of Instagram. Actually, for bodily health, you're out of whack. So what you can see, you can apply these things every way. And maybe you're just someone who's emotional. Maybe you're just into the absolute woo-woo and love and light brigade and everyone's on their own path and all those things. But you're saying that because you don't want to go into your own mind to accept stuff, and you don't want to go into the physical realms because you're deep down, you're petrified of being seen, or you're holding traumas that are like you don't want to acknowledge. There's so much in depth, but this represents us all. And when you break it down, when you understand that the subconscious mind controls 90%, that the emotional field will have the most resonance with the two, dominating everything else, controlling everything else. Once you get the emotions right, you're going to have more mental clarity, which means you're going to have more push in you physically, because you're going to have to get the physical goals. The reason why no one can get the physical goals is because it requires consistency, consistent effort. Without consistent effort, you're never going to get there. But you can't get consistent effort if mentally you're always finding a way to justify not doing it. And you're never going to get there mentally if you're emotionally controlled, because you haven't went into the subconscious and released the stuff that's been imprinted into you that's holding you back. And you're never going to get complete emotional health if you do not learn to express all the emotions. You do not understand how to connect with yourself, and you don't know how to connect and have a supportive community around you. And mentally, you're never going to get where you need to be, like feeling strong within yourself, controlled, and disciplined. If you're not connecting to nature, because that's the feminine side, shall we say, of the mental game, the meditation is the the structured side, the masculine side, the side that says, no, I'm going to do this and become good at it, just like you would physically. And then, of course, the community, because we're tribal beings and we need to have a sense of belonging. We need to know we belong somewhere, because without that, we feel lost. And then that affects our ability to cope mentally. And then obviously physically, you've got to be fit cardio. Your lungs and heart, they're a very important part of your life. Mobility, well, you can't get strong in the ranges you can't reach. You can only strengthen the muscles in the ranges you can move them through. So if you're lacking mobility, what you don't use, you lose. This is why so many people, when they get older, they're like this, because they've never moved their spine this way. We're told not to bend their back balls, bend it everywhere. You're only as old as your spine. And then overload. We have to stress the muscles somehow so they adapt. Without adaptation, there's stagnation. So you need to overload the muscles, be that through calisthenics, be that through bodybuilding, be that through kettlebells, mace bells, like leverage points where you're doing body like push-ups and pull-ups, etc. Whatever it is you've got to do, you do it, but you don't do it in a way to kill yourself. And again, a lot of people push themselves too much in the overload, too much in the cardio, too much in the mobility. And again, when you get challenged in that, you come up and defend yourself, boom, that's the activation. Then you got to come over, acknowledgement, acceptance, action, allow, authentic. This is not judgment, we're all part of this, I'm part of this. I'm just becoming more and more aware of, today I'm more in my emotional field, I need to fucking do some physical activity to get that energy moving, or I need to sit myself mentally to allow myself to rationalize and to work through this. But when you've got these tools, you've got the ability to do so. So I hope that didn't melt us too much. Imagine living this 24/7, well, in the world of Murray. So hope you enjoyed that. Hope you get something from it.